Hello, good afternoon, everyone. It's been a wonderful day with so many participants and sharing so many topics. It's been a glorious day. And for our next session, I would like to I would like to invite Professor Lenora Vieira from Petrosian College of Art and Science. Professor Lenora is a veteran in this field because she has a teaching experience of 22 years. And I cordially invite Lenora ma'am to take over the session and conduct the web presentation. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Bose. Good evening to all. A warm welcome to all for this two-day international virtual conference on literature, education, and social sciences, organized by the Department of English, Mohammed Sadak College of Arts and Science, Sholingnallur, Chennai, in collaboration with Cape Comorin Trust India. I would like to take this opportunity to thank the management and organizers of Mohammed Sadak College for inviting me as a chairperson for this session. It's indeed a privilege vested to me to lead this session. To quote, the success of your presentation will be judged not by the knowledge you send, but by what the listener receives. With this quote, I extend a warm welcome to the presenters of this session. I now welcome the first presenter of the evening, Dr. N. Satya, Assistant Professor of P.T. Lee Chengalvarya Naikar Arts and Science College, Chennai, and Dr. K. Veeramani, the librarian of P.T. Lee Chengal Narayana Naikar Polytechnic College, who would be talking on the topic Psychological Study of Yoko Ogawa's Pregnancy Diary. So, welcome you, ma'am.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good
Are you able
afternoon.
to hear, ma'am?
Yeah, we can hear
Yeah,
you. You can start.
yeah. Good afternoon to one and all present here, ma'am. Now, I'm going to present a paper on psychological study of Yoko Okawa's Pregnancy Diary. Pregnancy Diary is a novel written by Yoko Okawa, a notable Chinese novelist and short story writer. Her writings delve deep into the psychology of human beings. She lays bare the mind of her characters. In her writings, she portrays the role of women in the materialistic world being a mere tool or victim. The human beings, the women are mere tool or victim. Women happily allow themselves to be tempted or succumbed to the materialistic society. She explores the emotional bond and disturbance between the two sisters, the one preferring materialism, strongly denying strongly denying nature, whereas the second one, being akin to natural life, weeding out artificiality through artificial products. The psychology of both the characters, both sisters, is explored in this article. Both parentless siblings share the same house but not same thoughts. Both have different thoughts. One is addicted to materialistic world and one is fully like a naturalistic world. The author shows how one sister gets herself absorbed in the technophilia. We know the technophilia, the one is highly enthusiastic about the technology. This technophile's preferring sister embraces and allows interventions of technological innovation just for the reason that it is attractive. The protagonist uses the absorption of technological intervention just to weed out oppressive technology in the woman's home. Okawa pictures alive the emotional bond leading to the stage of weeding out the unnatural being violently in her sister. The contrasting nature of the sister is highlighted to depict human neglect of nature and adherence to artificiality, and she narrates the story spontaneously. There is strangeness in this pregnancy diary as it is maintained by the sister of the pregnant lady. The attitude of both the sister is contrasted in this novel. The story is narrated in the view of the younger sister. So the narrator is the younger sister here. When the story is narrated, the readers are able to feel and visualize what she narrates. And each time the naturalness of Ogawa's narrative keeps the reader inside the narrator as understandable feelings of abandonment begin to manifest. These feelings, like the narrators themselves, are relatable. It is the reaction of two sisters towards pregnancy, her attitude towards her elder sister who's pregnant is depicted well. It is quite unusual that the sister of a pregnant lady maintaining a pregnancy diary. So the focus is on the younger sister's attitude towards the elder sister's pregnancy. The minute The minute detail of the pregnant sister's behavior and action are dealt in this novel detailedly by Volkovos. The elder sister expresses her excitement over meeting the physician. That is, she thinks a lot about the number of months of her temperature chart as she was asked to bring her recent temperature chart. The protagonist is confused at her interest in collecting 2 years temperature chart. The contrasting nature of the sister is quite evident from this temperature chart and food neglecting incident itself. The pregnant sister shows herself to be insane and irrational. She is in sharp contrast with rational and practical minded younger sister. She is shocked at the sister's strange habit of recording her body temperature, as she does not have the habit of maintaining records. She has been preparing herself to visit the doctor with temperature chart. She has sentimental reasons in her choice of getting treated at M clinic. That is a clinic she used to go for checkup. She is quite nervous about the appointment she has with Dr. Nikaido, who serves in M clinic. The cause for her nervousness and her worry is that which dress she is going to wear while visiting the doctors and how she is going to talk to her doctor. In her childhood itself, the elder sister wished to get admitted at this M clinic, and she was attracted by the medicines and medical equipments at the clinic. As a children, both sisters sneaked into the garden to play. They enjoyed nature before getting polluted by the touch of technophiles. Both of them found the building and the equipments inside the building very attractive. The elder sister is completely attracted to the medical instrument inside the building. She was attracted by the medical charts. She noticed odd beauty in the medical charts, but the younger sister is always aware of such odd beauty inside the small three-story hospital. But she notices the blank look of the woman in the poster, that vacuum staring woman look brought her back to the reality. The protagonist of this novel view pregnancy as a thing which diminishes the power and health of her sister. She notices how her sister prepares herself for pregnancy and the treatment from her childhood. When she realizes her own sister remaining helpless in having control over her own body during her pregnancy, she wishes to save her sister from the unborn fetus growing in her womb. She considers the baby as the one diminishing her sister's health and wishes to protect her helpless sister who willingly accepts the grief, pain, and transformation in her body. But the fetus is not allowed to have its own natural medication. The pregnant sister curiosity to visit the doctor with 2 years temperature chart and planning the hospital in the childhood itself revealed to the protagonist that the fetus is a womb is going to be exposed to all the dangers of medication. The pregnant sister in this novel gives hyper medication as personal care, whereas the protagonist realizes that because of pregnancy in women reminds her of the oppression of women due to biological functions. During their childhood also, the elder sister is not timid, innocent like the protagonist. She watches with elderly observation under the pretext of being a kid. But Volkova depicts the frustration of a woman in the domestic space, in the everyday life. In her writing, she focuses on the details like buying, preparation, consumptions, and reactions to the food. In this novel also, the protagonist is denied to prepare food in the kitchen as a pregnant sister gets morning sickness due to her pregnancy. When the protagonist gets an opportunity to work part-time in supermarket, the she gains a big bag of grapefruit as a whole cart of egg fallen and spoiled the entire fruit section. With those American yellow grapefruit, she prepared jam before the arrival of her sick sister. But the sister finds, eats, and enjoys the jam, even the protagonist remembers that it contains more PWH, which would destroy chromosomes. She brought more American grapefruit packets on the news of birth of newborn child. The protagonist visits M clinic to see her sister's ruined child, as she is very much sure that the American grapefruit which she has taken too much would destroy the baby's chromosomes. The elder sister, after getting married with the man she loved, stays in their house itself. So both the elder sister and her husband become an intruder in her own house where she resides after the death of her parents. The pregnant sister's complete denial of food due to sickness during her pregnancy make her become aloof. She is forced to go to the garden with a vessel and ingredients so that the sister would not get the smell of the food being prepared. The younger sister complete submissiveness changes slowly to the pregnant sister's neglect of food. When the pregnant sister becomes normal after a few months, she eats jam made out of American grapefruit. So the protagonist could not imagine her sister having healthy baby and their happiness. Knowing the nature of her sister, the protagonist provides a harmful artificial genetically modified fruit to her sister who preferred artificiality throughout her life. She despised natural to the core. The protagonist noticed unhappy relationship between her and her husband. So she remained silent without revealing the nature of unhealthy food given to her sister. Ogawa has sculptured the mind of these two characters and brought them alive in the minds of the readers. Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Satya. I now leave it to the audience. If you all have any clarification with regards to this topic, you can ask Dr. Satya. Just 1 minute. So if you have any questions, you can pose it to Dr. Satya. If there's no questions, no doubts, we'll move on. Is Dr. Veeramani doing the topic also? Dr. Satya?
Yes, ma'am.
It is a combination of you and Dr. Veeramani?
Yeah, he's the second author, ma'am.
Okay. So he's not, so you have presented it.
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much for that wonderful
Thank you very much, ma'am.
presentation.
Thank
I
you very
now
much.
invite the second speaker, Ms. Nimisha Yadav, a PhD scholar of CLL, the North Cap University, and Dr. Shruti Mehta, Assistant Professor of CLL, the North Cap University, and the topic is Understanding Kolkata Through Cinema, an exploratory insight into Kahani by Sujoy Ghosh. So welcome both of you. So you can
Thank you, ma'am.
take over.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, everyone. I am Nimisha Yadav, a research scholar from the North Cap University, Gurgaon, and my supervisor is Dr. Shrutimita Mehta. I hope my screen is visible.
Yes.
Ma'am, is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
It is,
Thank
Nisha.
Thank you. So the
Please,
topic
please
for
press Control F.
complete screen. Okay. The topic for my presentation is Understanding Kolkata Through Cinema, an exploratory insight into Kahani by Sujoy Ghosh. Cinema is an essential and indispensable aspect of our present day world. It provides images of our surroundings and it records the lives of ordinary people. It acts as a prominent platform which creates meanings and it shed lights on political, social, cultural, and economic aspects to export various realities to the audience. It not only acts as a mediator between director and the viewers, but also shows the world from the perspective of the director. It is an art form which captures the essence of movies and it creates a massive impact on people from all over the world. This platform is used to give a break from the monotony of everyday life. Now, for a long time, it has not only been a part of entertainment industry, but it is also helpful in rejuvenation of our mind. It can amuse and charm one's thoughts, but is surely beneficial in bringing various art forms and different cultures together. The author that I've chosen for my study is Sujoy Ghosh. Sujoy Ghosh, he is an Indian film director, an actor, producer, screenwriter who works in Hindi films. He has directed many movies such as Badla, Aladdin, Home Delivery, Jhankar Beats, and Kahani. The movie that I will be discussing is Kahani. This movie features Vidya Balan in the lead role, and it has gained both widespread commercial success and critical acclaim. The movie has also received a National Film Award for the Best Screenplay. The movie with Sujoy Ghosh, the movie Kahani, in this movie, he brings a vivid picture of Kolkata city. He brings out the lanes, he brings out the streets, and the people living in the city. The primary objective of my paper is that this paper presents insight from the movie Kahani by Sujoy Ghosh, where he is bringing the life of Kolkata, the yellow taxis, the congested traffic, luchis, alleys, leisurely trams, and the city's festivals, thereby focusing on the portrayal of the city in cinema. Now, when I talk about culture, culture refers to the beliefs, the customs, the arts of a particular society or a particular group or place. These beliefs and these customs, they help an individual to stay connected with their community and their surrounding. These customs and these ethnicities, they are important and they are beneficial in portraying one's life, where it gives society its distinctive lifestyle. Culture is a term which denotes a large and varied set of intangible facets of social life, and these facets, they present our attitude, they present our perception, they present our opinion and behavior. It not only refers to the set of attitudes, values of only one individual, but it refers to values and beliefs which are communicated from one generation to the next. One of the most famous anthropologists, Sir Edward Brunner Taylor, in his book Primitive Culture, he describes culture and says, and I quote, "Culture is that intricate whole which comprises trust, art, ethics, information, tradition, law, and any other habits and capabilities attained by man as a partaker of society." Quote unquote. These cultural aspects, they are found in every society, which can be expressed through dance, they can be expressed through music, rituals, religion, and art. And through these culture, people and groups, they describe themselves. They are imitating society's common ethics and they contribute to society. So now when I talk about the movie Kahani, this movie talks about the cultural elements of a Bengali society. In the movie Sujoy Ghosh, the movie begins with Vidya Balan coming to the city Kolkata, and he tries to capture a sindoor smeared women who are wearing red bordered sari. The movie begins with Kolkata Metro. Now, the Kolkata Metro is not just limited to the backdrop of a song; it is where the action begins. So Sujoy, he is trying to give a boost to the lost trend of making films. We've seen that there were many famous movies of in Kolkata, such as Mahanagar, Pratidwandi, Interview, Calcutta 71, and many others. So through this movie, he's trying to boost that lost trend and he's trying to maintain a fine balance between romanticizing the city as well as depicting its edginess. So Sujoy Ghosh, he makes Kolkata enter every frame, and he tries to make the city as a central character of the film. In the first few minutes of the film, there are fleeting shots of Victorian memorial, yellow taxis, fish markets, or puchka stalls. We see rickshawalas, we see CPM symbols and slogans on the wall of the building. The ideals are being sculpted in Kumorthuli, in the North Kolkata houses, or the Howrah Bridge and the tram. Now, apart from the physical geography of the city, apart from that, he's also trying to bring, the language, where language also plays an important role in culture. So, Vidya Balan, she one while talking to her mother, she says, "Hena ma ashchi," which is almost, an outsider even can understand and recognize the visuals of the Bengali culture. But these Bengali elements that one come to associate with Kolkata, they are more than just tools to establish the Bengaliness. What the movie does is different, that it goes well beyond these very familiar visuals to establish the fact that the city, Kolkata, where the story is going to unfold, the city is not just only any setting; it is a character in the storytelling. So much this particular story could not be told without Kolkata at the heart of it. Perhaps this is because Sujoy Ghosh, he knew the city and he is trying to revive the love for the city. The story, it takes place in the city, which is, being prepared for the most famous festival, Durga Puja. So when Vidya Balan, she first lands to the city, she tries to get into a yellow taxi. She sees huge skeletal bamboo structures as pandals. They are being readied. Hoarding with advertisements of sponsors appear then and now. On the day the climax takes place, the Hakis, they are playing Dhak to be an enthusiastic crowd, and there are visuals of bubbles being playful, blown among which are blown among the pandal crowds, and of course the Dhunuchi Nach. But the most brilliant incorporation of the story was the one which was followed by the climactic scene. In the story, Inspector Khan, he is angrily instructing his men to go catch Vidya Balan, and he says in Hindi, "Pakar usse safed sari pehni hai." Now, the safed sari refers to the white sari with red borders, which is representing the culture of Bengal. Bengali women, they wear the white sari with red borders on Durga Puja. So she's trying to play a trick with him, and she tries to disappear from there. And there were many women in the crowd in front of them. His eyes could not tell where the woman was, because all the women, they were nearly identical. They were wearing white saris with red borders, and Vidya Balan, she becomes an unrecognizable, and she blends into the crowd, and vermilion is smeared onto her face. Now, the author is not just stopping at only the visuals or only the festivals. He's also talking about, at the end of the movie, we see a song which is sung by Amitabh Bachchan. The song is Ekta Cholo Re. Now, that song is a patriotic song, but the wordings, they are Bengali wordings. If you some anyone has listened to that. So Joy Ghosh, he is trying to bring. He's not just only stopping at visuals of Kolkata. He is bringing out various scenes, and he is bringing out the culture of the city. So, to end, I would like to say that the city cinema is trying to bring the images of the surrounding of the city, and the cinema is trying to record the lives of ordinary people, and it is trying to create meanings, and it sheds lives on cultural or social aspects to export realities to the audience. That's it. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Nimisha Yadav and Dr. Shruti Mita Mehta. It was indeed, you have portrayed a clear picture of cinema in Kolkata through the eyes of Sujoy Ghosh. So, once again, congratulations. And if the audience, you have any questions, you can ask Ms. Nimisha Yadav. Is there any doubts from the audience? You can ask a question. Okay, in that case, thank you very much, Nimisha, for this wonderful presentation of yours. We now
Thank you.
move on to the next presenter, uh, Miss S. Meenakshi, research scholar, Aitiraj College for Women, and Dr. J. Praveena, assistant professor, who would be dealing on the topic vocabulary enrichment in world English.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening to everyone. This is S.S. Meenakshi, research scholar from Etraj College for Women, and Dr. J. Praveena, my guide, assistant professor, Etraj College of Women. Shall I begin, ma'am?
Yeah, you can. Yes, go ahead, Meenakshi.
Yes, ma'am. Is my PPT visible, ma'am?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I'll begin now. So my topic is vocabulary enrichment in world Englishes. People around the globe, even in ever increasing numbers, are using more and more varieties of English. How is it possible? English language belongs to England. Today, it has become the language of international communication. The fact behind this is the majority of English speakers are multilinguals more than the native speakers. These multilingual people learn English to use for international communication with their fellow multilinguals. Let me explain the term world Englishes. It refers to the ever growing localized varieties of English, specifically that are developed in countries colonized by UK or USA. English is an omnipresent language. So from England, English has spread to many countries. Here is a quick summary of how it spread. During the reign of Elizabeth I from 1533, it slowly started spreading to Ireland in the end of the 15th century. Then later it entered Canada and laid the foundation for English. Then it slowly spread to West Africa, especially to Nigeria for trading purposes. Then the slave trade began in Nigeria. Then slowly it entered through settlers into North America and North Carolina. In 1603, an important thing happened. Scotland and England were merged into one political power, and Great Britain was born. And during 1963 and 1770, 1763, Canada was given to British by French, and even today in Canada, French and British are official languages. And in 1770, Captain James Cook entered New Zealand, and it laid the foundation of English in New Zealand. So, by the beginning of the 19th century, English was widely spread around the globe, and 19th and 20th century saw more and more people started speaking English all around the world. So, we can see a few models of world Englishes. Before that, I want to show this concentric circles of English by scholar Kachru. You can see here the inner circle, outer circle, and expanding circle. This inner circle has USA, UK, Canada, and Australia. So they all belong to the E and L, English as native language speaking countries. Then we can see the outer circle. These are the ex-colonies of UK and USA. So we can see here Ghana, India, Nigeria, Philippines, Singapore, Sri Lanka. So they all belong to the ESL group. Here in these countries, English is spoken as a second language. They have a primary language, but English is used for official and administrative purposes. And now we can see the expanding circle countries like China, Egypt, and Indonesia, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, and Thailand. So they are all called as EFL, English as foreign language is spoken there. The English is limited only to education. It's not used as a common language. So today English is not a singular language, but it has become a plural language. One English has now become many Englishes, and this has led to the term called world Englishes. So vocabulary development in colonies. This is a very important phase. This is how English developed into many varieties of English. There are three type of colonies: trade colonies, exploitation colonies, and settlement colonies. Trade colonies means European nations entered many countries for trading purposes. So this led to the contact between the language of the Europe, especially English, to the colonied countries. So many pidgins and later creoles developed in those countries. Examples: India and Malaysia. So these trading colonies later became exploitation colonies. So where the trading nation took the political and administrative power. So here the contact between the local and the imported languages increased. And later the settlement colonies. Here there is no power or no other colony. Here many people came and settled into the other countries. So settlers brought a wide range of varieties of English. It need not be standard English. It may be any variety of English. So in the settlement colony of Australia, for example, local languages provide a wide range of culturally and geographically specific vocabulary items. True nature of native languages. So I have to mention it here. The so-called native languages of British English or American English or Australian English, they are all not pure. English, the ancient English, the old English had many mixed and many parents. Some scholars call it as a truly mongrel language. So English vocabulary was greatly influenced by Sanskrit, Latin, Greek, Indo-Greek forms. So before English existed in England, many languages preceded English. So English was greatly influenced by many languages. British language reflects the British culture. So this is applicable to the American variety of English as well as the Australian variety of English. In fact, the so-called native languages are also nativized languages since they have the influence of other local languages and they reflect the local culture. So, development of new Englishes. How did English become omnipresent around the world? So, Schneider and other scholars like Kochru and Moog has almost same kind of development theories. So here I brought Schneider's theory and model that it's common, it can be applied almost to any common language like English. So Schneider identifies 5 phases in this developmental cycle. The first one is the foundation phase. First, English was brought inside a country by settlers or by colonizers or by traders. Second one is exonormative stabilization. What does it mean? Schneider calls the language that is brought in by the settler, for example, English, is an STL strand. And the local or the indigenous language, he calls it as the IDG strand. So the STL, the vocabulary or the grammar, everything slowly moves from the STL native variety towards the local IDG variety, and the expansion of the local language happens naturally. Then next comes the nativization. This is the most important and a very dynamic phase because results are heaviest. It actually reconstructs the English language in the vocabulary wise or the grammar wise, because here the foreign language, the imported language, totally influences the local language, and the English vocabulary and grammar is reconstructed in the nativization. The next phase is the endonormative stabilization. The new variety which is created through the nativization is accepted as a local norm. Then the differentiation. The new variety has emerged and it reflects the local identity and culture of the respective country. And the original STL strand is also reflects its identity. The differentiation is well known. So Kachru and Moag also have the same kind of developmental theories. So let's see some of the interesting vocabulary varieties of English. A word in one variety of English may have different meaning in another variety. Different varieties have words that are unique to them. Vocabulary provides meanings that are of importance to a people of a particular culture. For example, if we take the word bush, in British English, bush means a short tree or collection of plants, usually thickly covered with leaves or thorns. That's all. Nothing more than that in the British English, if we check any dictionary. But if we take it in an Australian dictionary or an Australian context, it has various meanings. First, the primary meaning for bush, it refers to the countryside as opposed to the towns. So the phrase go to a bush means go to the countryside is one meaning. The next one is disappear into the bush in order to completely disconnected with the urban civilization. Again, the word bush is very much related to Australian culture and Australian people's psyche. For example, bush ballad means a ballad that tells about life in bush. Bush carpenter, he's an amateur carpenter. Bushcraft, the ability to live in bush. So like this, many more words are related to the word bush in Australian English. Okay. And another phrase we can see, we had a huge day yesterday. This does not mean it was a big day in Australian English, but it means the show was a great success. So Australian English has borrowed thousands of words from Aboriginal languages. The most famous ones we know is kangaroo, kola, and boomerang. Kangaroo comes from Gugu Yamidir. It's a Aboriginal language. Kola and boomerang come from Daruk language. Today, they have all become part of English dictionary. Then Australian people, they like informal flavor in their language, unlike the British who like formal flavor. So they shorten the words. For example, politician, they shorten, call it as Polly, journalist as Jono, refugee as Refo. Then let's go to the differences of meanings in British and American English. We know cars. Cars are very famous, American cars and British cars, but the meanings are totally different. In American English, cars have a trunk at the back and a hood at the front. In British English, cars have boot at the back and bonnet at the front. American cars have stick shifts. In British English, they call it as gear levers. License plates in American English. In British English, it is number plates. Tires and tires, spelling differ. And in American English, they call windshields. In British English, they call it as windscreens. In America, drivers stop at crosswalks. In England, drivers stop at pedestrian or zebra crossings. And the drivers stop at stop lights. In England, they stop at traffic lights. So let us see some of the words. The word chipmunk means red squirrel. So this has come from Ojibwa language into American English. Squash means vegetable or fruit, which has come from a local language called Narragansett. Igloo, we all know it's a house built with snow. So this has come from a local American language called Inuit, and kayak is also from the local language called Inuit. And there are a lot of African American words also. For example, chimpanzee, we all know chimpanzee, but it is actually loaned from an African language called Kivili. Dengue fever. So we all know that. The dengue word is also, most possibly, it has come from the African language called Swahili. Jazz, the most famous music, this American music, this has possibly originated from West African languages, Mandika, Tenme, and some people argue that this word has come from English word jazz or French jazzer. Safari, it's come from Swahili and Arabic. Moreover, the way of talking also differs. British say, "How are you?" and Americans say, "How are you doing?" And British bid goodbye, and Americans bid have a nice day. So, few borrowed toponyms, like many colonies by Britain or England, they love to keep. They love to place names for their many towns like Wellington, Vancouver, like that. But here we can see certain towns are named uh, after the local languages. For example, Australia, a town called Noosa is originated from the language Gabi Gabi. The meaning is ghost. Turak is a place in Australia. Language is Wayurang. The meaning is black crows. In Canada, Manitoba is a place. It is the town's name is originated from the local language Ojibwa. The meaning is strait of spirit. Quebec is a famous place in Canada. So this word has originated from a local language called Abenaki. The original meaning is where the channel narrows. So in New Zealand also, Otago is originated from the language Maori, and the original meaning is place of red osier. Petone is a place in New Zealand, and the origin language is Maori. Meaning is beach end. In South Africa, Bongani, the language is Xhosa, meaning is give thanks. And another place name is Manzimale. This has originated from the language Zulu, meaning is beautiful water, and many more names are like this, but I am not able to cover in this paper. So some interesting names I've covered here. So vocabulary and variety of other Englishes. So borrowed names for plants also, they borrowed names from local languages. For example, hickory. So this original language is Algonquin, and the meaning is drink made from hickory nuts. Quarry is the name of a plant that is from the language Maori. Mulla mulla is the name of a famous plant, and it has come from a language called Panijima. And squash, we already know what does it mean in American English? Uncooked greens. The origin language is Narragansett. So names for animals also have been borrowed from the local languages. Dingo is taken from Daruk language, moose from Abenaki language, raccoon from Algonquin language. So words born out of Americanism. Americanism is a culture, and this is greatly opposed in North America and Britain also. But some of the words which I've listed here, interestingly, has got merged with British English and the other varieties of English found in the rest of the world. They are disc jockey, porterhouse stick, skyscraper, trainee, Vaseline, and many more words. And so now we saw, if a settler goes into a country, that country takes words from the settler's language and the local language, and the vocabulary grows. But interestingly, some words in the following nations, they are not neither from the local language or not from the settlers. For example, bandicoot is a word used in South Africa. The origin is from Telugu, South Indian language. The word called Pandikoku. Then depot means railway station in US. But the origin of this word is from French. Malish means never mind in Australia. The origin of this word is Egyptian Arabic. Panga means cane cutter's knife. This word is very often used in South Africa. And surprisingly, the origin of this language is from African local language Swahili. Now let's see some of the interesting English words that belong from Indian origin. Avatar, we know the famous movie, also American movie. So this word avatar is from Hindi, and it is also inherited from Sanskrit, meaning deity from heaven. Bungalow, this is also from Hindi and Urdu. They are called as Bangla in Hindi and Urdu, meaning house. Garam Masala, Indian Garam Masala is very famous. So this word is inherited from Hindi and Urdu, meaning hot and spicy. Surprisingly, it also comes from the Persian garam, means hot, and Arabic masala means ingredients. Cash, this word comes from Tamil language, kasu, meaning liquid money. Bamboo, from Kannada bamboo, meaning bamboo. So I could not cover most of the rich vocabulary of the varieties of English. Now let me go to the models for English language teaching. So there is the so-called standard of British English, American English, and Australian English. On the other side of the globe, there are a lot of varieties of English with new vocabularies which one part of the world cannot understand. Only people belonging to those culture can understand those words. So how to go about teaching? So Kirkpatrick argues that two models are there. One is exonormative native speaker model, and another one is endonormative nativized model. So this exonormative native speaker model takes British English or American English as a standard English, and a native speaker should teach English to the local people. So in the endonormative nativized model, the local language and the local English will be taught as a model, and the teacher will be a local teacher. So let us see the advantages and the disadvantages of both these models. So being a native speaker is the only criteria, and not teacher training qualification is required for exonormative native speaker model. Most countries, like the expanding countries in like China, Japan, and they all hire this native speaker as a teacher. The only criteria is only this: they are a native speaker of English. No teacher training is required. But this is not a healthy way. A teacher has to have a training in ELT to teach good and proper English. So this is one drawback of this exonormative native speaker model. But in endonormative model, local teachers who are bilinguals, like they speak the language of the place, they know the culture of the place where they live, or train teachers of English language. They choose local model of English so that the students can understand, and then there will be good interaction between the teacher and the student, and this increases the self-esteem of the teacher as well as the students. And in exonormative model, monolingual teacher and monolingual classroom, the teacher speaks only in English, and only English will be present in the room. So this will be difficult for the learners to understand and to communicate with the teacher. But in the endonormative model, the teacher will be multilingual. The teacher will be speaking the local language also, and usage of other languages other than English in the classroom is encouraged. In exonormative model, native speaker teacher does not know the local culture at all. This is one drawback. As we said, every language, whether it is British English or Indian English, it reflects the culture of the place. And the vocabulary is rich with lot of cultural words, the local words, the flora and the fauna, everything. So it's important that the teacher should know the local culture and traditions. So endonormative model, the teacher understand their roles, the roles they are expected of them, and they can easily interact with the students and the administration also. And the exonormative model, the native speaker teacher comes for a short term and high salary is paid. In endonormative model, nominal salary is paid to the teacher, and extra finance can be used for training the teachers to give a better teaching and learning experience to the students. And finally, For a great majority of multilingual learners, the choice of a native speaker model is very difficult to master and quite inappropriate. It is very tough. But the local nativized model greatly advantages students by being both attainable and appropriate. Students can have their role models in their teachers. They can have high confidence in learning the language. But there is one drawback. Andy argues about that drawback. What is it? The drawback of the local model. If the local model has not yet been codified, the codified means the local model should be accepted. It should have standard grammars. There should be a lot of textbooks, dictionaries should be manufactured. It should be supported by the administration, by the government, by the ministries. It's all important for a local model to be a teaching model. Suppose if the local model has not yet been codified, what to do, how to go about it? For that, Andy Patrick says that the native speaker variety can be used as a norm, not as a model. They can take the grammar, everything from the native speaker variety as a norm, and they can follow it, and then they can codify their language and their model. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Meenakshi, for that, for your wonderful presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
It was thought-provoking, especially the points on models for English language teaching. But you see, the beauty of our English language is that from wherever we have borrowed points, words, vocabulary, okay,
Yes, ma'am.
it may be from different places, from different clans, okay, from tribals or from wherever it is. Ultimately, at the end of the day, it becomes a word in the English dictionary, and it is
Yes.
accepted and being published in various dictionaries. So that is how our vocabulary has expanded as far as the world English is concerned. So thank you very much for that wonderful presentation.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
So thank you, Meenakshi and Dr. J. Pravina.
Thank you, ma'am.
We now move on to Ms. Uma Pratak, a research scholar of Singhania University, Rajasthan, who is going to present to us on literary education and social sciences. So welcome, Ms. Uma Pratak.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you can take over.
Thank you, ma'am. I am Uma Pathak, research scholar of Singhania University from Rajasthan. My topic is literature, education, and social sciences. I am going to presenting my PPT. Just a minute. Is it visible, ma'am?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, thank you. As we say that literature is the mirror of society because it reflects good values and it is. Literature is an imitation of human life and action. And literature developed the ability to think critically about various topics from a range of various theoretical perspectives and value of literature. Actually, by the knowledge of literature, the student develop their language awareness about poet, and he have the knowledge about the poet, dramatist, novelist, prose writers, and literature develop the skill of reading, writing, and speaking. Next step is education. How to education brings a change in the society. A subsystem of Indian society, education is process which helps in the achievement of purposeful living. And society is a product of social forces like caste, class, family, etc. Through process of social change, its structure gets complex. And in fact, education helps the member of the society to adopt the constantly changing aspect of society. In ancient India, those who studied the Vedas and Upanishads were given high status in the society and they acted as a counselors and the advisors to the rulers. The elementary education is the base of the system of education, and secondary education is run by the state government, and the purpose of university education in India was to create a class pupil. Next step is social mobility. During his career, person achieves a various type of education, moves into a different occupational status, or adopts or a different style of life, and he may be considered to be socially mobile. The mobility brings change in social position of a person. Education removes discrimination based on the birth and destroys rigid stratification. Education develops ability and capacity in the individual to gain higher status, prestige, and social mobility may be of two types. There's a vertical mobility and the horizontal mobility. An alteration in status upward or downward is considered as a vertical mobility. Horizontal mobility is a movement is from one status to another where there is a no differences between the ranks of the two status. Uh, let I want to give an example. A person who is from laborer who becomes an industrial laborer has only moved horizontally, and a son of sweeper, when he goes to the school, graduates and gets a high government job, has a moved upward in status. This movement is vertical because this mobility is from the status position to which he was born. So that is known as horizontal and the vertical mobility. Education is the prominent part of life. It can change the entire world, and it will provide necessary training in skills and occupations. And it is also expected to change the values and attitudes of the people and to create them an urge and the necessary motivation to achieve social class and cadency and social mobility. Education is an important tool which brings a drastic change because education must emphasize social reform in modern time. People recognize the value of education, receiving higher academic and professional training. By this change, their values, attitudes, and behavior. Educational system is considered stems from the constitution. Education through a state subject is based on the collaboration of the central government and the state government. Various commissions and educational policies survey the entire field of the educational development and make a comprehensive review of the country educational system. Next step is elementary education. Elementary education is the base of education. If the primary education is well organized, so the rapid development of science and technology have created a super class. It has elevated the upper level system. It affects the higher secondary and the university education. The purpose of university education in India was to create a class of people. In India, education has become a prime need for developing our economy. Higher education in research is the supplier of scientists as engineer for technological advance. The modern school distributes life changes, and it is not surprising the educational opportunity becomes an object of wide political concern in industrial and industrialization countries. Next step is education and policies. Politics. In ancient time, those who studied the Vedas or Upanishads were given high status, and they are working like rulers. They are working like counselors and advisors of the rulers. The best example is Chanakya was the well-known advisor and guru of Chandragupta Maurya in Mauryan dynasty, and they're the total political scene of his times. Next step is education and religion and casteism. Religion in India has significant role to the development of education. Religion in India emphasizes on moksha or salvation. A person to better life on earth. On the other hand, in India, education system is based on religion and casteism. Even lower caste people are not allowed in get any education in the ancient time. Brahmins imbibe the knowledge of Vedas and acquires all the classical knowledge. Even religion constitutes an area of life where the state does not interfere. There are multi-religious society in India like Hindu, Buddhist, Jain, Sikhs, Parsi, Christian, and Muslims. In ancient time, in Hindu women are allowed to get education. They were the great scholars like Gargi, Ahilya, Vidodhma, etc. But in the middle period, the ratio of education on are declined, but now in the modern age, the ratio of women education raised high. Next, the interrelationship between education and culture. Let's we talk about it. Education is a prominent factor for cultural and social change. On one hand, education has to maintain the care values, and on the other, to introduce the value of secularism and rationality in Indian society. The school and the university modify the ideas and concepts of progress in the mental constructs of the student. Education plays a vital role to bring a change in the society. Education must emphasize social reform movement like Brahma Samaj, Arya Samaj, Protestantism. There are five kinds of change. First is change in social values. Second is institutional change. Third is change in distribution of position and rewards. Fourth is change in personal and change in abilities or attitudes of the personal society. Wishing to change itself has to imply a number of instruments, institutions, and agencies to achieve its desired goals. Let's we have the we come to the point of that the conclude, and we have to conclude these matters. If we throw light on the literature, education, and society, we find out the literature is not only mirror of society but expresses attitudes, experience, and thought of the human world reflect can be perceived by the readers. It is when we observe, we find out that on the basis of available data, about 80% of people live in rural areas of 20% in urban areas. Our villagers are suffering from poverty, malnutrition, disease, superstition, traditionalism, and caste jealousy and sex crimes. And even murders can take place. We can remove their social events, and life is generally insecure and unhappy. By opening of schools, institutions of Panchayat Raj, influence of electronic land reforms, and number of social legislations measures, and the ever-growing rural-urban migration, not only institution but also a teacher plays a vital role to maintain proper atmosphere in his institutions. The teacher must be trained in the objective of inculcating moral and spiritual values. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Uma, for your wonderful inputs on literature, education, and social science. To sum up, I would like to thank all the presenters for taking time off and preparing and presenting papers. Very few build up this courage to do so. So I congratulate all the presenters and wish that you may present more papers in various seminars, both at national and international level. God bless you all. I once again thank the management and organizers of Mohammed Sadar College of Arts and Science for giving me this opportunity to be the chairperson for this session. Thank you, one and all.